President Trump had an event where he invited the families of the recent mass shooting in Florida. And take a look at what happened. This is a picture from the AP. And in the tweet, they said, President Donald Trump holds notes during a White House listening session with students and parents affected by school shooting. And the photo is by Carolyn Castor. And you could see here, the first point is, what would you most want me to know about your experience? The second point is, what can we do to help you feel better? And then we obviously don't see the third or the fourth point, but the fifth one is, I hear you. So what's interesting is, it's almost like they wrote down, hey, here's how to be just like a decent human being after people witness their fucking loved ones get slaughtered. That's basically what it says. Like, okay, here, stay on script, stick to the basics, ask them how they are and how we can make them feel better. And really, what the notes say to me is that it's like a venting session. They wanted to let people say what they were going to say and speak their mind, but it's not like he's actually connecting with them or giving a shit about where they're coming from. Now, to be fair to Trump, he did take one action in the wake of this incident. He did a presidential memo that's recommending banning bump stocks. I think there's still ways they could wiggle out of that, so reserve judgment, but just be cautiously optimistic about it. So give him a little bit of credit for that, but that's absolutely the bare minimum that could have been done. And, I mean, listen, this just shows, this is like the Sarah Palin thing. Remember that, where she had a debate with Biden and she had written on her hand, like the most basic shit ever? He wound up saying in this event that we should arm teachers. Dude, what are you doing? What are you, really? You want to arm teachers? That's what you think the fucking solution is? Teachers are already underpaid, and now you want to make it so they're like fucking James Bond in an instance of a mass shooter happening. And I saw this amazing tweet. Rokana sent it out. It was of, you really think teachers are going to be equipped enough to fight back against a mass shooter? Well, when Ronald Reagan was walking on like a sidewalk and there were fucking 5, 6, 7 people around him with guns, highly trained, there was still a guy who was able to shoot him. So it's not like, we don't live in a fucking Chuck Norris movie, dipshit. It's not that simple. This isn't Steven Seagal or Liam Neeson or whatever the fuck. This is real life. And the overwhelming majority of the time, that's probably going to complicate this situation more. You have teachers armed, and then somebody shows up shooting, and then really all the teachers are going to take their guns out, and then who the fuck knows when the cops show up, hey, who's the actual shooter? And, don't get me wrong, I don't think it's a crazy idea. There's one right-wing solution to gun violence, which I don't think is crazy. Some people might disagree with me, but the idea of having, an armed guard or two at schools, I know it feels a little police statey because it's really at our schools we want armed guards. But at the same time, would it potentially be somewhat effective? Yeah, I can see that. I don't think it's a crazy idea. But I think it is a crazy idea to arm the fucking teachers. I mean, we already know the kinds of people that are inclined to become police officers. And those are people who usually, keep it real, many of them want to just have that badge and have that feeling of power and want to lord over people. I'm not saying all cops are bad. I'm saying that there's a certain personality type that wants to get into that kind of a field. They want the weapon. They want to feel like they have power and control and they are the law and, hey, here's my badge. And sometimes it's people who used to be bullies who become cops, and sometimes it's people who were bullied who become cops. And, you want to make teachers a similar kind of field? Oh, that's what we do. So what I'll do is I'll teach you about World War I and the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, and then I'll make sure that my fucking Sig Sauer is ready in case somebody breaks down the door and starts lighting shit up. What? So it's a terrible idea, man. Arming teachers, really? There's no better symbol of the decline of the United States empire and the rotting of our system from within than casually floating such a maniacal idea. But that's what he did, and he did it in a fucking meeting, in an event with family members of people who were just slaughtered in a school. So, listen, this to me, okay, the notes, whatever. It's funny, and that's why I wanted to do the segment. But the main point here is, don't fall for the head fakes. That's the main point. Don't fall for the fucking head fakes, because this is one of the oldest tricks in the book that people in power will do. Hey, I showed up. Don't I get credit? And can you please connect dots in your own mind and say that since I showed up at an event where all of you were here and I'm willing to confront you and be in front of you physically, please connect the dots in your own mind and then interpret that as I am in favor of you and making the changes to the law that you want to see. Because that's what this is. That's what the attempt is. It's like when Democrats, they'll go in front of minority groups and they'll act like, I'm here. So obviously the black community should love me. The Latino community should love me. The LGBTQ community should love me. But then you go to their policy proposals, and many corporate Democrats fight against Medicare for all, which, by the way, would have a tremendous positive effect on those communities. They fight against the living wage, which would have an overwhelming effect on those communities in a positive direction. Politicians always go, oh, look, I'm with military families. Isn't that great? And then they vote for the next 3 fucking countries for us to invade. So by showing up, they're trying to use that as a diversion tactic. Oh, I'm here. So give me credit for being here as I vote in the wrong direction on all these fucking issues. So that's, I think, what the mindset is of Trump in doing this. He wants to show, like, what do you mean? I'm not hiding. I'm not scared. I'm not saving face like the NRA when they literally go on a 6-day break from their Twitter feed and all their social media after one of these mass shootings. Trump's not doing that, and politicians aren't doing that because they're a little more savvy. But at the end of the day, it's fundamentally a similar thing where it's like, we're not going to change 99% of shit. It's going to keep being just as bad. But hey, I'm here, so I just want you to think that I'm for you, even though I'm not really for you. And that's why he has to write points about just basic humanity shit. And it's never, the points are also not, he's not asking about policy. It's, what would you most want me to know about your experience? So that's why I said, like, a venting session. That's what they're trying to do here. That's what they're trying to do. It's a venting session. Because he wants you to, tell me things that'll make you feel better, as, again, we don't change 99% of the shit. Again, to his credit, he said, hey, I'm recommend banning bump stocks, but that's an infinitesimally small part of the problem. We have to go a lot further than that. So it's venting. That's what it is. It's venting. Oh, tell me about your feelings. I hear you. I connect with you. When in reality, what should be going on in that room is the politician should be saying, okay, here's our plan. We're going to do universal background checks, no exceptions. We're going to do a ban on high-capacity magazines. We're going to treat guns like cars and make it so that there's a process you have to go through in order to get your weapon. We're going to have a waiting period of 72 hours because that gives us enough time to do a real, total, thorough check into somebody's history. And that should be what's happening. It's like with Bernie. When Bernie does a fucking rally, it's like, Medicare for all. That's what Medicare for all is why we're here. You see the fucking sign? That's what we're going to talk about. You want to know the specifics? Ask me questions. We'll talk about the specifics of this policy. But with Trump, it's, what would you most like me to know about your experience? So vent, and then we'll say that that's enough, and like, it's action, even though it's not. So that's the main point here, and it's pretty sad.